Check, check, quick sound check. Can everybody hear us loud and clear? What's going on, Coach Paul?
I hear you loud and clear, Coach Jay. Um, how we doing on this day that ends in Y that is been a wild one again?
It has been a wild day for sure. Wild day for me. I explained it a little bit on Topstep TV, but we'll talk about it a little bit here. But welcome everyone. Welcome to At the Buzz Our Market Recap. This is your first time here. I'm Coach Jay. That is Coach Paul. The goal of this segment is to review what happened in the market for the day. We may talk about some markets that we have not traded before, but we believe our goal as traders is to identify opportunity, see how we could have taken advantage of those opportunities while managing our risk. This is our first time meeting. I'm Coach Jay, been a top step performance coach since June of 2023, in the futures markets for the past 6 years and trading for the past 13. And that is Coach Paul. Coach Paul, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hey, I'm Coach Paul. I've been with Topstep since April of 2023. Um, I've been involved in the futures trading industry for 4 decades. I'm here to share my experiences, maybe some knowledge, and hopefully help you become a better trader.
Awesome. Thank you for that, Coach. And you are all our audience. Let us know how your day ended up today. Were you up on the day, down on the day? Anything that you learned from the day? Maybe you stayed flat today and didn't trade. How was your day, Coach?
Um, Basically, on my day trading, had a good day.
Nice.
Swing trading, um, I gave back what I made in the S&P and the bonds in the 5-year and the 10-year. So basically, all right day. Followed my rules. So that I would say is a successful trading day. How about yourself, sir?
Good stuff, Coach. My day started off a little rough. I was on fast markets with Dakota last night. We were talking about getting long in the equities, and we were both long, wrong about direction, but that's okay. Ended fast markets with I think like positive $50 on an S&P trade, and then kind of right before I went to bed, I was looking at another opportunity to get long with managed risk. I was basically looking at this low right here, holding in the Nasdaq. Went ahead and put on what I thought were micros. I was comfortable taking 5 of them because I was gonna risk about $300. But I did not take 5 of them. I took, 5 minis.
You took
So,
50.
yeah, I took 50 micros. So if there's a lesson to be learned, and hopefully you guys learn it through me, um, I feel like I quote Jay-Z at least once a month on this show, but he has a line in a song where he says, "Hove did that, so hopefully you don't have to go through that." I did that, so hopefully you don't have to go through that. When you're trading, logistically, make sure that you are changing the asset that you're trading to the correct asset. I think it's very easy on Top Step X to just type in the asset, and I actually love the feature because you can switch charts really quickly. But I went NQ 5 buy, and it was like the market was waiting for me. Instantly drops 20 points, and I'm down 20 points with 5 minis on. Um, I could have had the risk management features, auto lockout, and things like that. That was my mistake. Use the features because mistakes happen. But it cost me a little bit. Cost me a little bit. Gave back pretty much the progress for the month. The account is still alive, so like I said on Topstep TV, I'm at a standing 8 count right now, and it's still active. I'm just going to trade tomorrow like it didn't happen because there are going to be great trade setups tomorrow that I can take advantage of. What I am not thinking about is getting back that amount tomorrow. Um, it may not happen for the next week. It may not happen for the next 2 weeks. It may not happen for the next month, or it might. I might just catch on to a really nice trade and be able to recover it. But that is not my concern. My concern is just about executing what is in front of me when it presents itself. It sucks, but and I did not make money from that mistake. We were talking about that on Coach. How often has that mistake ever gone in your favor?
Um, Less than 10% of the time. Here's what happens. I was a floor broker for many years too, also. That means I got paid commission. When I started, it was $1.25. When I decided I can't take this risk anymore, it was down to 50 cents. But One trade like that can ruin your month, one error. So you would say you filled 30,000 one month and you get an error on it. Let's say that was a 20 lot.
Right.
So there goes your month. And um what I can say is you cannot avoid them, but you can take process that you need to slow down. There's procedures, um, and you want to check. You sure you want to do that?
Right.
Um, floor brokers had assistants, like whose job was to line it all up.
Huh.
Um, you were I had the same error last week on the S
Yeah.
and P's.
Yep.
Whoever's just talking about it, I was short 3 micros, and on rapid fire, I just didn't even look with the chart. I just clicked on the chart, right clicked, and started buying it. Now, I didn't check when it gave me the notice. I just said, buy it, hurry up.
Mm.
Um, I saw the day's profit explode and turn red.
Huh.
It's a sickening feeling. Like what what happened here? Um, And then I figured it out. By the time I figured it out, within about it was like less than 2 minutes. Cost me $1,500.
Yep.
Now, a couple of things to learn from that bad experience, and is to share with the audience. I was trading 3 micros into 3 minis, and it cost me $1,500. So why I bring that up is that's how, if you're trading minis, you have a $3,000 account. That $3,000 account could be gone
Oof.
in
Real quick.
minutes.
Yeah, luckily I was not trading a $3,000 account. I had built some balance in this XFA, but you're 100% right, coach. That could have been the account. And I think the one thing for me is have that daily, and I've told other people to do it, and I need to be better at taking my own advice. Have the daily, as soon as the day starts, if you're going to trade the Globex Open, set the risk parameters and lock them for the day so they cannot change. Bullet Trader says, "Did I exit right away?" I did. So I'm sure you guys, this was the candle right here. This move right here, I bought 5 and almost immediately, these are 1-minute candles, we were down 30 points. So I got out as quick
And
as
it
I
doesn't
could,
it
but,
doesn't
like,
look like much.
no, I got out as quick as I could, but it was almost immediate. It is what it is. I'm gonna put it behind me, and, we'll move on. But, let's talk about the markets. Uh, do we have some planned news today? We did. We did. S&P officially down 10% from February record enters technical correction. We were talking about this the other day. The percentage moves between technical correction, bear market, and recession. 10% technical correction, 20% bear market, and then recession or whatever you want to call it. I think it's 25%. Um, we had some planned news out today. We had PPI come out this morning and jobless claims PPI. Inflation data coming in a little lower than expected, which is good. But we said it yesterday, coach. The markets seem to not be caring about the fundamental news that have been market movers all last year. Everyone seems to be focused on the trade war, what's going on right now, all of the tariffs, and those are the real market movers. We had jobless claims come in at 220,000. Forecast was 225. Not much of a reaction to it. We did see, and we'll talk about it when we get to the charts. The levels that came from that 8:30 number, 7:30 central number, were pretty important, but not the big moves that we're accustomed to seeing. Anything you got from the news front, coach?
The news was they sold it in the first half an hour for whatever reason. Um, and the buyers couldn't change that. So we've been talking. The news is there's liquidation going on. And it's funny, while reading order flow was more important than reading news. Um, well, I don't even know what the PPI number was. I think it was as expected, right?
I think it was. I think it was.
So we could look at that, but maybe I get triggered when I see the news. There were so many times that there was a news report. We used to call it when I was in the bond room, "Unenjoyment Friday," because there was the news would come out. There was an expectation if it was up or down that we would move in a direction. So let's say, well, it's a bullish number, and you start buying it. Oh, right off the first couple minutes, you're like, "I'm a champion," and it's not less than a minute later, you're down to 50 ticks.
Right.
Um, so I, you have to trade your process. The news is negative, but what's the most dominating news, as you said, is tariffs. It's not going away. Um, and but until I see heavy buying on the close that takes out the previous day's high and holds it, I'm on the sell side.
Yeah. Yeah. And so we did, let's go over this quote board real quick. There are 35 different markets that we can trade with top step accounts. And today, to the downside, we had crude oil down 1.65%, heating oil down 2.27%, and micro Bitcoin futures down 2.92% for our biggest percentage mover to the downside. To the upside, we had gold up 1.66%, making new all time highs in gold. Silver up 1.95%, and soybean meal up 2.23% for our biggest percentage movers to the upside. To talk about our big four, we had the S&Ps down 1.13%. Gold, we already talked about. Crude, we talked about. And the NASDAQ down 1.57% to round out our big four. I have a NASDAQ chart up here, coach. Let's go to a 30-minute. Um, let's just look at the New York session, right? We saw the
Yeah.
overnight, but I mean, there was a really nice sell-off last night. So actually, here let's talk about this trade a little bit because I did take a long based on the setup that we talk about all the time. It was in the S&P, so let's look there. Uh, I did take this long here. Uh, we had the 30-minute opening range. We had VWAP leaving the range. Not the most convincing exit of VWAP from this range, but we got a test and rejection of the high of that range, and I took a long right off the high of it. Um, right after I took that trade, I said, this isn't the most urgent VWAP that we've seen. So if we get a candle close on the 30-minute below VWAP, I'm out. That was this candle here. We sat, we allowed the trade the time to work, and this is, I think, is a perfect example of a good time stop. I gave the trade a full half an hour to work, right? Because I entered on this candle. In this half an hour, we stayed under VWAP. We closed below it. I'm out. Uh, and eventually would have hit my stop, and maybe I should have just hit the reverse button and go go short. But time stopping this trade saved me. I was risking 300 bucks. It cost me 50 with micros. Um, where as long if the trade is not doing what I expect it to, and that you got to give it a little bit of time, right? No trade is going to go right in your favor. The minute you enter it, it'll go right against you if you enter with a 5 lot mini instead of micros, though. It's funny how that works. Uh,
You
but
took the words out of my mouth. I was going to ask you, did you do five?
yeah, but once that closed below, I got out of the trade. I did get back in when we held 50% of this range, but then again, same trade management. If we get back up to this range, and this is someone was asking how I trail exits on that trade that we took during Back to the Futures. Give the market a level. Like, okay, when you get to this level, if I can't find buyers or if you don't find buyers, then I have to think about getting out. I got back into this trade at 56.03. We got back up to 56.11. We didn't see buying push us above, and VWAP stayed flat. I'm out again. I'm going to take the 8 points. But let's look at the New York session, coach. That's where the show really was. Uh, and start from that news candle. So here's the
First off,
30-minute news candle here. Go ahead, coach.
yeah, I was just going to say to start from a news candle. Go ahead.
Uh, So we have the news, we have PPI, CPI will go down. Sorry, PPI and jobless claims. We'll go down to a shorter time frame just for the hey, you don't have to trade in front of the news. That 3 minute news candle was 20 points. It's not the biggest that we've seen, but again, still risky because we don't know how big that candle is going to be. So you don't need to trade in it. But once that candle prints, if we attach VWAP to it, we can see pretty flat, right? The market really didn't react at all to that number. We stayed within this range of prices. But once the New York session opened, which is here, we're still in that range. It took a little while to leave it. Trying to draw another box here. Doesn't help that it's the same color, so let's make that pink. There's your New York session range. And I think at that point, coach, we can go back out to the 30 because here you go.
Yeah, one at the third. Let's see with the first half an hour and frame that. I'm to the point now for day trading. I don't whatever it starts in the first 5 minutes, 3 minutes. Um, that's where I want to start measuring. So in the first half an hour, this is the same pattern we've had all the way down. Highest volume, beginning of the day. So they're selling into the first half an hour. Price wise, we try to rally through it. We wicked hard on a 5 minute, 3 minute. But going through the way I look at things, I don't want to own this. Because we're under the 200 bar moving average.
Yeah, it's getting
That's personally.
this has just been straight down for 3 weeks straight now. Every test, or and at some point we stopped getting tests of the 200 moving average, and we're just like, close to it is enough. Anything over the 50 moving average is a sell opportunity right now, for the most part. When we get the
Yeah.
separation, we check that 50, and that's good enough. And the market is selling from there. Uh, let's zoom out and look at a higher
Some
time. Go ahead, coach.
yeah. Go ahead. Let's look at the daily. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, just this is the most amount of time we've spent under this 200 moving average on the daily since 2022. And the 20 moving average is getting ready to cross under the 200, and it's doing this on SPX as well. Uh, Coach, we said it a week ago. Uh, when, if at all, do we start having the conversation? And this is not about day trading, about 2025 being a red year. Uh,
Yeah. So far,
yeah,
we can say
right,
that.
right.
We
We don't
don't
have
know. But I didn't know we're crossing the 20s, crossing under
getting ready to.
200. So last time that happened, that was COVID, wasn't it? Or was that
Last time
2023?
that happened was 2022. 2022. So
Wow.
2023, we got close in October, but it turned. So we could still have a turn here. But in 2023, we weren't spending as much time below the 200. 2022, we were spending a ton of time below the 200. It 20 crossed. Of course, we get the retest because markets don't just go straight down, but then we can see what the rest of 2022 looked like. So,
Wow. Interesting. Now, notice in it the 200 starts bending, or at the least it's slowing down. It's losing its trajectory. Um, and that's happening now.
yep.
Um, but that's a price level. W- We as day traders have to trade every day and make decisions. We don't have to trade it every day.
What we do.
Um, we look for opportunity every day. That's what it's unless we're above the 200 bar moving average on the half hour, I have no intention of buying this. I'm looking for places to sell it. That's a trend trader's mindset. That's what works for me. But if we go today, we on the first 3 minutes, and you called it without last night's, just the today's data, the day regular trading hours data. Um, and then we attach a VWAP where the true volume is coming in. When I mean true volume, this is New York session. All right. Um, now, maybe I actually I did. I lost on the first two trades.
Okay. Going short.
Um, going short, I actually lost in micros. I lost, I don't know, like 5 ticks,
Okay.
which is cost of entry. But I was shocked how fast it ran out. Looked that could look like the bottom if we didn't have volume there.
Yeah.
And what is volume is measuring buyers versus sellers and how it affects VWAP. Um, I wasn't the only one who got short. It looks like, or but if we look at it another way, the shark sold it early, stopped selling it, and we bounced right up.
Yep.
And they found another, and from their point of view, not mine, another place to start selling again.
Yep.
And the second time, I think that second one caught people that caught not people. Yeah, it's some bad buying. Like,
And look where it stops too. Major level 5600. Uh, anytime
yeah,
we hit one of those majors, it's a decision. Are there enough convinced buyers to trade us above here? And this entire way down, there has not been. Uh,
and that's not a small move.
no.
So I think it was 50, 60 points in the S&P. Let's just look at that. It was a large move from from that low. And at that point, it looked
It's
like,
about
I mean, you
45 points.
40. Okay, that's that's $2,000 on a mini in a half an hour. Um,
It's a huge move.
you could have been sold it early, or you could have sold it there and got blown out. Without risk management. But let's get all that out. Let's just measure who's got the uh, the hand, right? Who's
Mhm.
the volume? They'll do that through volume, not
Yep.
price. Um,
Sellers are
that
the stronger hand for sure.
sellers are, and boy, that when they came back in, let's when we've seen it. How many times? This was a rare one because usually when we break out, we get some continuation.
Yeah, yeah, this was tough. This was tough. If you were looking for follow through on this sell, I don't know if there was another headline or something that came out that popped us back up here. Whatever it was, this was a tough move. If you weren't taking profits, and even then, this is a trade that worked out. So the one thing, okay, so here's what's interesting. By the time VWAP was leaving that range, coach, we were already making a low, right?
Hmm.
Where if you compare it to Monday, VWAP and price were leaving at the exact same time. So a lot of that sell volume happened at these lows here. Makes it a little bit different, but yeah, that was a tough move. But I mean, you could take the trade again.
You could take the trade again, and if you bought it, nice. But if you bought it in a longer term time frame, you what I'm trying to measure if from an objective point, at that point we had buying. There was buying in there. But what kind of buying is it? Weak buying against the strong selling is really what that was. So if you're looking at price, it's hard to find what level should I sell it. Maybe it doesn't meet your level. But if you look at VWAP and take the sell with a close under VWAP, you sold it again. Let's say you could have maybe you take a small loss there when it closes above VWAP. Try it again.
Yeah, and like you
If you
said, right? You someone might ask, why would you take so many short trades if you keep getting stopped out? Because your thesis, Coach Paul, is what is the higher time frame trend saying? Short it. So these are just all good short opportunities, right? What we don't hear Coach Paul saying is, "Oh, I would flip long and buy it here." I would do that, right? And I actually did do that. But you know, take the setups when they present themselves. One might work out, and if you don't take profits, stop you out. Another one might stop you out, small loss, and then another one turns into the trend trade that you're looking for. But you stayed all on one side.
Here's now that's a really good question. Why would you keep doing it? Well, I couldn't afford to do it if I didn't size it right.
Right.
So we talk about having a risk budget. This one at the level for the combine that I'm in with profit is $400. That's the I lost 125, um, and then I think less than 50 trading two micros. What I'm saying is I had enough bullets left to try it again. If I were to do that, so either I am completely wrong when I'm down 400, shut down. I'm done for the day.
Yep.
That's what I budgeted in. My budget is to sell this. Um, so yeah, why would I? Because eventually, we had a good day there.
Yeah.
Um,
Shout out to Chuck calling this out. Framing out those news candles does help. We can see where the top tick was during the day, the high of that news candle print. VWAP was low, was flat again from the news. What does flat VWAP mean? Fade the extremes of the range. When we get back up into the highs of that news candle, man, really nice opportunities up here, right around that 5,600 to sell.
yeah, and you know what? I don't want to. Me, I wasn't looking to sell it. I was flat. So I could argue, in true, you could argue, well, you had a chance on price, but I use price and volume. Um, was Someone was asking what a confirmation.
Mhm.
To me, the confirmation is the volume when it closes below VWAP. Now that's where the shark goes. I'm gonna grab some more of them fish. It's like
Right.
at one point the shark was doing something else when it was making that, and that's a wicked weak high,
Yep.
right?
Not convincing at
I
all.
mean, there was average to lower than average. It was lower than average volume. It's like you like to say, Coach. There's not convinced buying. We could almost tag that with that has the DNA of stops.
Yeah. Yeah, that's exactly what it looked like. Some stops going off for shorts, but need follow through in order for the market to continue in that direction. And stops are never going to get follow through because those are closed positions. They'll get follow through if new buyers want to step in. Um, that's why anytime you're short, if you're reading order flow for any of our order flow traders out there, let's say you're short in a market and you see buying coming in, buying is okay. Um, but as long as there's new selling that continues to come in, you're going to see buying, right? There's going to be counter flow trades that happen, whether it be stops going off, whether it be somebody trying to buy it and push the market the other way. As long as new selling continues to come in, it's fine. If I'm long, selling is going to happen. I can't try to overreact to every selling print. As long as new buying continues to come in, and if we're looking at that from a VWAP perspective, if I'm short, fine. As long as this VWAP doesn't stay flat or start turning upwards, I'm in the flow long as it continues to tick lower, I'm in the flow of the market. Um, do want to talk about a trade that we took later on in the day. Just back to the question that we had about confirmation earlier, Coach Paul. It was earlier in the week. So there was a long here. So we see this high volume right here. Uh, this high volume here. Again, we attach VWAP to it. It stays flat the entire time. So fade the extremes. You could sell it. Conservative target being the other side. And if we get more continuation, great. But I did take a long during Back to the Futures, and it was based
Yep.
on. Go ahead, Coach.
By the way, that was a great job. Even
Thanks, man.
after your error, he did this live. If you didn't see him, it was a perfect type of J trade with volume.
Yeah,
Great job on that, Coach.
It was so shout out to D because if you guys don't, uh, if you haven't seen Deanna's segments, I would definitely suggest watching it. She does the London segment every day, 3:30 a.m. Central Time. But she uses the average session range, right? So we look at average true range. She's looking at the average session range as far as extension goes, and or how many points are left in a potential move. And she called out 55 12s as a potential over exhaustion level. Uh, and I mean, I'm not
What
gonna
was the
I
low?
yeah, I would be lying if I said that hearing say that right before I got on the segment didn't give me some confidence in that long, right? D said she was looking long, and I was just like, "Well, I'm 20 points late, but if D likes it, so do I." Um, but basically, from that, the candle that made that low, uh, I same thing that we always do, attach VWAP to it here. Now, I'm looking at 2 different senses of volume. From the time we made this low and we got this bounce, what has volume been saying? It's pushing to the upside, right? But this again is counter trend for the entire day. So I need to anchor to something else. Where I anchored to was the other highest volume of the day at that point, right? That was the high volume of the day. What is the market's opinion since then? Sell it. So for me to take this trade on a price basis, it looked good. But what is to say that we don't come up, reject this VWAP and sell off? So what ultimately got me into the trade was saying if we get a candle close above that VWAP, then I'm okay entering long. My stop is going to be it was about 2 ATRs, but I honestly, Coach Paul, I was never going to take the full two ATR risk. If we started to trade back in this range, I was out. Um, but because we got this candle close, we talked a little bit about confirmation before. I'm comfortable getting in somewhere above this VWAP. Um, risk 2 ATRs just so I don't get wicked out on a move like this, and I'm honestly comfortable adding. I took the first one in micros up at 40. I'm comfortable adding all the way down to 30 because my risk is here and this VWAP is moving to the upside from this candle here. We can see it acted as a support. And now I'm trading back up towards the highs of this highest volume candle of the day, right? Because this VWAP is flat. Hopefully that just made sense what I just said there. Why we started taking profits, we got to within 50% of this candle here, taking some profits, and um, you know, price started to get a little bit away from VWAP here. So considering just taking profits off, you don't have to close the whole trade, but if there isn't enough follow through buying, the same thing we saw at the highs of the day up near 5,600, then we're likely to get a rejection, and that was that trade from there. Hey, D's in the chat. Great call.
Yeah,
Amazing
that
call.
was. Now, what's the difference between the average true range and the average session range? Is
So
that just taking daytime into effect?
correct, correct.
I love it.
Yep. And D says
Um,
it when you hear her talk about it. It's the session that you trade.
yeah.
So
Well, that fits because I'm to the point for day trading. I don't care what it did last night. For just, and I'm not saying it doesn't affect it, but like at that point, that's when the biggest volume on 90% of the time comes in the first couple minutes,
yep,
and especially the first half an hour, right? And then I get a better idea of what's going on in the day that day, versus because that's all that really matters is where is it now? Now, I used to get in a lot of trouble. Where could it go? And then projecting out.
yep.
So great call, D. When I saw that on air, it was. It was also interesting when you did that trade. We had the biggest candle.
Hmm.
Wasn't the biggest volume, but with that bounce, we can assume that the selling stopped.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah, the likelihood of getting another candle like this at some point in the day is pretty low. But that one, considering everything else that was around it, was significant enough. And like you said, Coach, with the price action too, significant enough to kind of lean against. Um, because that looked like short covering at that point. Um,
We have a question. What is that measuring tool?
this one here, it's just a fib tool, but I have the levels as 0, 0.5, and 1. and I'm just measuring the high, low, and 50% of each of these candles. Gold just hit 3,000
Just
in the
now?
futures. Yep, just now while we were talking, 3,000 and a half.
Where's the
New
air horn?
my stream deck is not plugged in right now.
Alright.
Let me see if I could do it.
Wow, we waited all this time for that stream deck.
And it's just sitting on my desk
You
unplugged
had
right now.
you had
Uh,
one job.
one job, one
One
job. Let me see.
job. Uh, in the meantime, um, look at now this is interesting. That little rally, that series of blue candles came after the official close.
You talking about gold, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look at that. We had one big buyer there, and that's wow.
There you go.
So if we did this, riddle me this. Would that be the official start of the night session? Not 5 o'clock?
Uh, that's a good. So you're talking about gold settlement?
Yeah, yeah. Once it settles, because the cards are being redealt. Because
Yeah, good point. Because settlement is here in gold.
right there,
Is no, it's not that
all
one. It's not that one. Hold on.
12. What's it
It's
closes what 12?
it's this one. It's this candle here. So
All right,
29.91.
all right. Now let's attach a VWAP. And we used to call this at the curb trading. It means after the official close, the locals would get stuck with some positions they didn't want. And some people got into trouble for it, but there was no ill intent. It's like all of a sudden you're facilitating paper flow, and the broker hits you on a bigger quantity, and you turn around and it's last 10 seconds and you couldn't get out of all of it. Now you had a position that you didn't elect to take. It was so some locals would go, well, what do you need? I have 20 extra buys. Well, I'll take 5 of them from you, and then it was called the curb. But we've seen this before, especially in the New York markets. Um, that we get movement after the settlement. So interesting. I want to watch that. Keep an eye on that to see when the night is. That's really all that action is on the next day's
Report.
report.
Right. New highs again, 3,009. Can you guys hear the air horn?
No. Eh,
I think they can hear it. You probably
is
can't
that
hear it,
it?
Coach Paul, but
Uh,
they should be able to hear it.
good.
New all-time highs in gold, 3,009. We were talking about this
I
move.
said it couldn't happen.
They said it couldn't happen. I mean, what's the next target? Where do we put it from here? Eddie was talking about 5,000, which is it's up there. But any analysis on GC? So let's take a look. So we talked about the consolidation that we were in and what gold likes to do. Consolidate for a couple of days. We sat in this range. These moving averages that Coach Paul uses, the 20 and the 50, they started to kind of straighten out. We get some separation between the 20 and the 50, and we start to see this 200. This was yesterday, act as a support. So yesterday's price action, we act as a support. We start to break out of this consolidation that we were in. And I think what we were talking about yesterday was, okay, great. We broke out of that consolidation, but we have 2950 that's right above us, right? That's yesterday's close. On the Globex Open, which was last night at uh 6 p.m. Eastern time, 5 p.m. Central, we traded above that 2950. Volume didn't go yet. We came back, checked it. Our friends in London said, hold on, hold on. We want good prices too. then we'll buy it. And by the time we got to New York, that 2950 was acting as a support, and it was really off to the races from there. I do want to take a look at Coach, you've been talking about, maybe only looking at the regular trading hour session, and gold
Mhm.
opens up. Gold's an interesting one, right? Because gold opens up at 7:20 Central, which is 10 minutes before we have some of the biggest news that gets out there, right? So you're always going to have more volume in the 7:30 candle than you have in the 7:20 candle if there's news. Um, but could you ignore all of this pre-market if we're looking at the equities open price action, and then just look at the equities open, the New York session open, which is 8:30 Central Time? That's when the rally started. That's when it really
Yeah,
got
it
going.
started. I
Go
did
ahead.
see that. Yeah, I've been watching that for this fact. The, the it's the opening. It's when, on average, it's when the biggest volume comes,
Yep.
and it's also, if you're playing pokers, the hand is dealt. Let's see how it plays out. Oh wow, I got pocket aces. I so or okay, I'm in. I'm going to ante up. I'm putting on one chip, one unit with two. For me, it's two ATRs of risk or possibly less.
Yep.
Oh wow, look at that. I get 2 to 1. Do I get
Pretty
a
quick.
chance to do it again? Or I can, what I'm saying is you can make better decisions based on what's being dealt. Wow, and look at that volume.
Oh yeah, ton of it. Shout out to Hogue. We talked about this maybe 2 months ago with Hogue talking about this rally in gold and it being exacerbated by shorts covering and shorts getting a short squeeze, new all-time high in gold again. Uh, but these kind of moves, and we see them to the downside in the equities, these almost liquidation moves. This could be liquidation of shorts to the upside as well, right? Where I have to get out of a position, and I'm being forced out of that position, having to buy and pushing us higher. And as we were making new highs, Hogue was saying Delta is still negative. Delta is still negative. So people still trying to sell this, and this goes to a question from Ricardo: what should you have to see for a good short in gold? Um, if it's a good short in gold, the way I'm thinking about it, it's here for a good time, not a long time. If I take a short in gold, it is against the trend. It's a see profit, take profit trade, because shorts are the reason we're seeing this move with that negative delta. What about you, coach?
Um, I don't. For me, I don't know. I won't know the high until it's made. Um, that's why I'm only looking to buy it. We're, so for me to really, to get short, the difference between getting short and selling it. The only reason I would sell it if I'm already long. Um, it has to be a spectacular movement to the downside for it just to begin. Um, with that, we would have to close below the 200 moving average on the half hour at the least, and even then. But at least I have a place. Here's where I used to get into trouble a lot. Oh, look at that! The gold was up, the first series of highs. Oh yeah, it's definitely, the first time on the left side,
Oh,
during the
these here.
day.
Yeah.
Yeah, right
Yep.
there.
Yep.
Oh hell! I'm down $10. I'm stuck.
Yep.
In my rookie days, I try to average into a scratch. If you ever hear yourself say that, get out of everything, turn off the computer, and run. If there is someone asks, how do you know you're in tilt? The moment you ask that question, okay, if I could sell another one, if it gets back, and it's usually when you're losing more than you initially lost. So you start. It's. Well, I'm sorry, I didn't even think of it. Yeah, Um, oh, yeah, I know it tick by tick. Oh, there's then you start. I've told this story before. Then you start praying to God, and you can't be praying to God. He's on the other side of the trade. He's perfect. He doesn't make bad trades.
Oh yeah, long as much gold as he could hold.
So
And I'm
I won't even think about selling gold. Yeah, this is what if you've done it. This is what blows up accounts. This one day. Yeah, I'm not for a long time for me.
yeah. And what we've seen gold do in the past was make a new all-time high, sell off 50 to 70 points, and then continue the rally. Could that happen here? Yes, but when it happens, it's very obvious, right? It's something like this, where there's a ton of volume, and again, it's usually a quick trade. It's not a yeah, gold is reversing. This is a market that's been in this trend for 2 years. Uh, I'm not gonna try to call the high, and
Uh,
2 years is conservative, right? We had a little bit of consolidation through 2020 to 2022, but this is nothing is stopping this, especially not my
Um,
one lot trying to make a couple $100. Go ahead, coach.
we talked about it, I remember when I back in the day, but when silver made a famous move to $50 in 1979, 1980, the base started from like $8. The, the it ruined many traders because if you're starting from it made contract highs at $8, all time highs. Oh,
$8.
$8, and they were like people. That's solid. Get short. Now it's at 10. This is literally what if they take a look at it. It's the Hunt brothers debacle.
Mm.
Um, Within a year, it was at 50. Look at Coco.
Oh yeah, that rally
Um,
in cocoa has been crazy.
2 years, yeah, it went up by tenfold.
Yep,
So I just
not our job to
maybe I
figure
get
out.
triggers here. Yes, don't get that mindset out. Get it out. You know, eh, when it's all said and done, you'll know when the high is in after it's made. You, if you're trading well, you should be long at the high.
Yeah, yeah. I was on with Andre. I think last year when we were making all-time highs in the equities, and it was a move during the day that by the time we got to it in the afternoon, it was already kind of late. But he was like, if I'm going to take a trade, I'm going to lose money buying this market. Right? I'm completely okay losing money buying. I don't want to try to be the seller that figures out that, oh, this is the high. And I think that's a good mindset to have. Now, it's not a blind buy, right? We're not just going to just jump in. It's like, oh yeah, gold is making new all-time highs. Let me buy the high tick of the market right now. Personally, I don't do that because I want somebody else to tell me that there's some potential to trade higher. And I'll buy it on a little bit of a pullback. But to try to find the short, you might honestly be paying some opportunity costs in finding a better opportunity to get long by trying to short this.
Now, it's a great question, by the way.
It
I'm
really
glad you
is.
brought that up. Um, just also when you also have a mindset is um, if I'm trading well and it's making all-time highs, if I'm short at any point here, I'm losing money. So other part is look for a failure of buying.
Yep. We got some questions, other questions here. Sean C, will you be drinking gold green beer on Monday while it's trading? I will not be. What about you, Coach?
No, I haven't done that since I was 21.
It's
And when
been a
you vomit green beer, it's even worse than you can imagine. It
uh,
also gives, and life's too short to drink shitty beer. Um,
Agreed.
I drink Guinness. By the way, I'm gonna give what is the official color of Guinness?
I don't know.
I'll give that. Yeah.
Official color of Guinness,
A bit.
isn't it like brown?
Yeah. But, close. Some people say it's black. Um, I've been there. I did the tour with. I got my assistant brewer's certificate.
Okay.
Went for the class for the whole day. The official color is ruby red.
Red. That beer is not red. I'm sorry.
Uh, that's what I said, but they give it. It's ruby red. That's the official color of Guinness. But if you enjoy green beer,
Enjoy it.
have all you
Enjoy these
want.
celebrations. Enjoy
Enjoy
the
it. I'm not putting
celebrations.
it. It's all right. But me, no.
Yeah, I don't think I've drank green beer since my friends used to always like to do St. Patty's Day celebrations in Boston. Um
Oh,
and it would yeah, it was wild times. Wild times. All right. When working for the CBOT, Coach Paul, did market makers fill orders manually? The way the markets have been moving lately seems like this whole market is ran by algos without any manual intervention.
oh wow. What a setup question. Great question. Now, couple things in the fills would be slower. Your trades might not be better. Yes, algos are making the decisions, but wow, this I could go on for a day here. But two things.
Got 7 minutes.
I got 7 minutes. Well, we'll start a theme here.
There you go.
Um, when there was a pit, there was a singular source of liquidity. That was the local community, the members. All right, they were first. They supplied liquidity, and then it was traded out. And there would be times like of panic markets happen. Um, but it was a slower process. It got faster and faster, but now there is no singular source of liquidity. You're relying on a scared bunch of market makers
Right.
who have to take volume at an instant. It's like they're expected so they can get overrun. Um, so yeah, it just happens quicker. Is it more efficient? We could argue for days. Um, I am of the opinion, maybe because I was there for it's more efficient in a competitively traded market. There was bids and offers with a large crowd taking the others. The whole job was take the other side.
Right.
Um, so what all goes do, it's the time. By the time you and I see a quote, or even worse, a quote, I don't care what the quote is. I want to know what the trade is. Options is a different story, but in futures, I need where the last trade is. It was really the things we see are way behind the eight ball. I mean, at the source, there's they're trading at the speed of light, literally. I'm not that it's literally.
Yeah.
So, um, we get the output. That's why to me volume becomes so important because you get that volume result. We never had that before. So efficiency, uh, no, in my opinion, you give me evidence and I'm wrong, and I'll go with it. But the speed is insane.
Yeah.
Um, it's um, so
Good answer, coach.
um,
Uh
yeah. What can I say?
So we got one more question here. Any other markets you wanted to discuss before we answer this last question?
You know what? Quickly, the Bitcoin, because Bitcoin and Tesla are neck and neck. Let's look at the daily. What's that white line, coach?
Holding that 200.
It's holding it. Um, but volume is picking up to the sell side. We closed under it once, rallied. Um, but on this one, we've held that gap from Sunday, I think. Was it Sunday? The gap lower.
Yep.
We never got, I don't think, did we get to settlement from there?
I don't know where settle was, but we traded
Oh,
about
yeah,
50%
from
of that gap.
Friday. All right. But it's not reacting very well. If you look at the daily, there's more sell volume than buy volume.
Yep.
Um, this could pick up speed to the downside, keeps testing the half hour 200 moving average and failing. Um, looks quite heavy. Um, it needs to hold this 200 or Elon might have to unleash about $10 billion worth of Bitcoin. I don't know, but it can't withhold big sellers right now. It won't go down slowly. That's what I'm trying to say. It's going to exacerbate. Um, kind of like gold to the other side. Now is I don't hear this electric gold anymore or a digital
Oh no.
gold.
Oh,
It's definitely not making all-time highs. So there's there's a lack of buyers here. And if there we get longer term liquidation, we could have a vicious move down.
moving like the equity markets. All right. I just want to pull this up because I'm curious because someone asked us to bring it up yesterday. The British pound held that 200 moving average again on the 30-minute and bounced from there. Kind of consolidated. 20 and the 50 kind of wrapped around each other. Maybe getting a little bit tired. We saw gold do this, right? Where this 200 starts to flatten out. Our 20 and our 50 get kind of wrapped around each other and we base, but nice range trade off the low at that 200 moving average. Uh, so whoever brought up British pound yesterday, hopefully you traded today. Nice trade. But one last question from Triple G. I just paid for my first XFA. Can you give me some guidance on how to trade it? How much should I risk? It's a 50K funded. So I asked some follow up questions here, coach. Uh, took 6 days to pass the combine. Only trading micro NQ. I didn't set a fixed contract number. I would just risk a dollar amount, approximately $350 per trade, my base my contract number off of that. How should Triple G go ahead and trade this XFA?
Is this your first XFA? Your number one?
Yes, first XFA.
Um, okay. Cut it in half. Um, make yourself, at least for the first 2 weeks, so you're comfortable
Build a
and you
little
build
buffer.
some equity. Because you know what can happen. You know what happens when you're in front of mind is I can't blow the XFA. Front of mind is not, this is my process and I got to take this trade. And I can't, um, in the XFA, I can't lose money.
Yep.
And that shouldn't be front of mind. So to help that, cut it in half. Cut your size in half. Whatever you're doing, cut it in half. For a couple weeks, get comfortable. Maybe build some equity. And look on the other side, if you're into a drawdown, it's going to be half of what it was. You're going to be comfortable in it. That's my advice.
I like that. What I will say is do not overreact to a loss as long as it's measured, right? Now more than ever is important to have what that measured loss looks like. Because then you can keep the account alive, you can trade the next day, right? It took you 6 days to pass the combine, which is, especially in these markets, if you're trading the micro Nasdaq, very possible to do, right? Especially on a 50K, make 3,000 in 5 days. You don't even have to be trading a ton of size to do that. But make sure you manage what those losses look like and don't let if they are to happen, and I hope they don't. I hope your first 100 trades are winners. But if they're not, right? If your first couple are losses, don't overreact to them. Um, they're part of the game. We don't get to choose when the market gives us a winning trade. We just get to manage risk. Um, and trade well. Trade well. Any other markets that you have that you want to discuss, Coach? Or we can go ahead and wrap it up. Any final words before we go into tomorrow?
Um, Back to just the advice for XFA traders, especially the first time. The most important thing is be comfortable in your losses. Like I said, I'm going to repeat it. Just cut it in half what you were doing before. Understand, I don't know if you know your process well enough. Was it designed to really eat big because its market gave the opportunity? And don't get caught in the thing that this market could continue for the next couple months, but it doesn't have to. If it could go through a congestion phase, where if your trading is doesn't do well in a congestion phase, you might get really frustrated. And if you're at the size you were, then you start focusing on the money. That's my bit of advice, and for anyone that's in that situation. Otherwise, have a good night or a good morning wherever you are.
Have a good night,
Trade well.
everyone. Trade well. Excuse me, manage your risk. Coach Hoop has a class coming up in Discord in about 10 minutes, so make sure you check him out over there. Then we have Coach Ray and Coach Vince at 6 p.m., 7 p.m. Central Time. And then, of course, Dakota with slow markets tonight. I will be back on Top Step TV tomorrow for the opening call. So we'll go over my pre-market prep. I'm shutting charts down after today. I'm shutting charts down. I'm not gonna look at a chart until tomorrow morning. So we'll talk to you guys then. But trade well, manage your risk. One more day till we get to the weekend. I love what we do here, but the weather's starting to turn in New York. So I'm ready to enjoy a weekend. Thank you, everybody. Talk to you all tomorrow. Bye.
Bye.